pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Have a motion on the minutes? Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you very much. We have no special presentations. So, Madam Clerk, on to ordinances, final reading, please. Yes.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 2216, 2228, 2242, and 2252 Murray Lane, and part of 7608 Shallowford Road from R1 residential zone to R3 residential zone, subject to certain conditions.
Move to approve.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Thank you. B, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning the 3600 and 3700 blocks of Atchison's Road, 3700 block of Cravens Road, and an unopened alley in the 3600 block of Atchison's Road to allow for continued development of a public park as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
What's the pleasure? Councilman Oglesby, I believe that's in your district.
Move to approve.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. The difference in the agenda from earlier today is that one item got moved up. All right. Madam Clerk, ordinances first read, please.
An ordinance number 13334, known as the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget ordinance, so as to appropriate $300,000 from the Department of General Government to the United Way of Greater Chattanooga.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Move on to planning item, please. Madam Clerk.
Shall I read the planning version?
Excuse me.
Shall I read the planning version?
Alternate version 2, right? Yes, alternate version 2.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38, zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 1005 Beeson Drive from R2 residential zone to RTZ residential townhouse 0 lot line zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Henderson.
Mr. Chairman, since this is a planning item, we might ought to ask if the developer,
Very well.
developers here and the applicant and any opposition.
The applicant's here. Is there any opposition present?
Okay, John, would
sir.
you mind coming up and just reading what we amended, or I say amended, we changed the language to clarify?
Yeah, I'm going to read what I sent to the city attorneys. Understand it's in the current updated ordinance, but I'm going to read it for the record. There's just one change is related to the wording for the retaining wall. Do you want me to read both conditions?
Go
You
ahead
don't
and
mind?
read both of them, just
Sure.
so that we're reading those into the minutes. We know exactly what we're voting on.
Okay, just 1 second, please. Okay. Subject to the following conditions, limit the total number of units allowed on the site to 12 townhouses and I'm going to read this based on the email I sent, and I'm assuming Phil's got this. There shall be no development with the exception of removals and restoration for the purposes of installing a retaining wall indicated on the attached site plan north of a line described as connecting 2 points A and B, point A being located along the northwestern property line 175 feet south of its northernmost point, and point B being located along the eastern Beeson Drive property line 50 feet south of its northernmost point. And there's a map attached to, or site plan attached to the ordinance, per my understanding.
All right. Thank you, John. Mr. Chairman, I want to move approval with the conditions just read by Mr. Bridger. That's in form of a motion.
All right. Second. I have a motion for the alternate version and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Thank you. Resolutions, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a Frost Stadium license agreement with the University of Tennessee on behalf of the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga in substantially the form attached to use the outdoor softball complex known as Frost Stadium located at 1100 Macaulay Avenue on a portion of tax map number 146G8001 for a term of 20 years commencing on March 1, 2018, with the option to renew for one additional term of 20 years for a license fee of $1 per year.
Councilman Byrd, followed by Councilwoman Coonrod. All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. Next, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to enter into an agreement with Faye Ralston to perform duties as program manager, lead hazard grants in the amounts of $72,603.33 for the second year of a 3-year contract with an option to renew for one additional 1-year period for a total amount of $217,810.
All right, what's the pleasure of the council?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. Next, please.
A resolution to make certain findings relating to the Ridgeway Apartments redevelopment, to delegate certain authority to the Health, Educational, and Housing Facility Board, and to authorize the mayor to enter into and execute an agreement for payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes.
Councilman Oglesby.
Move to approve.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to, I guess, reiterate or make sure everybody saw the one change that we made in the agreement on the pilot, and we added the language that the project will be constructed in substantial compliance with the project description set forth in the pilot application that the company submitted to the city as determined by the Land Development Office of the city and in consultation with the county. I appreciate this being added by Ms. Williams and Mr. Smith to offer a little bit of clarification and I think some teeth to make sure we get what we're bargaining for.
All right, see no other lights. I do have a motion and a second. Oh, Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Williams, can you just come really quickly explain the process of the pilot and what this pilot for this development entails?
What the process
In
is for
case-
applying for a pilot?
No, the process, yes, and what is going to be utilized for with the Ridgeway Apartments.
Sure. Pilot is an acronym for payment in lieu of taxes, which is a process by which the developer, their taxes are not forgiven, their taxes are frozen at the rate that they are right now. So even though in this case there will be approximately $14 million of investment in the property, they will pay their current rate, which includes the school portion, and they will pay the school portion of the improved value of the property. And in order to apply for a pilot, you have to have a minimum of $5 million of investment. You also have to have at least 50% of your units reserved at a rent rate that would make that rent eligible and accessible to folks whose incomes are 80% of the area median income or below. This project will be serving folks at 60% and below. It's 120 units that the company is purchasing if they receive a pilot. There's a purchasing, hopefully with the transaction closing in October. They will begin the improvements the first of the year, and all of the low-income folks that are currently living in the Ridgeway Apartments will be able to stay there.
Thank you, and just two more questions,
Sure.
if you don't mind. Just for clarity, and for anybody in the audience that may not know or understand the process of the pilot, is it a joint pilot thing, like the city and the county, or is it just strictly city giving this pilot?
Oh, good question. So this body approves the pilot for the city taxes. For folks who own property may know that when you get a tax bill, you get a tax bill from the city and you get a tax bill from the county. And so this body approves the pilot for city taxes, and then the county commission votes on, may or may not approve, you guys may or may not approve, but you vote on the city portion of property taxes. The county commission votes on the county portion of those taxes. And typically a project cannot move forward without both bodies agreeing to a pilot, but they're separate and apart.
Okay, and then the last question is, what's the process, say, once a pilot is given, city and county both approves a pilot, and say if the business or the company organization does not fulfill the pilot, what's the process for one going, because a lot of times people think that city council is the one to say, okay, we're gonna sue you, Donna Williams,
Yeah.
because you didn't fulfill your obligation.
You
But
don't have
what
to
would
sue
be
me, I
the
don't have
process
$14
to
million
collect?
yet. So the process is, there is a contract, there's an agreement that you all likely have a copy of, which is what Councilman Henderson was referring to. And in that contract are the provisions for the performance of the developer. And should that company not fulfill the details of the agreement, in that contract are clawback provisions that basically say, if you don't do this, then we won't do that. So all of that is outlined in the agreement.
Mhm. So do the chamber notify the city council, or do they notify Department of Economic Development, and then you all start the process if you need to collect?
Yeah, the chamber doesn't have anything to do with the affordable housing pilot. They do with the jobs pilot.
Okay.
So the affordable housing pilot, we have an annual compliance period where actually a couple of our staff members go to the property to do the necessary compliance to make sure that they're performing per the agreement. And we report that both to the council annually, as well as to the Health and Ed Board.
Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Good, Councilwoman. Councilman Byrd.
Ms. Donna, and just one question. Well, say without this pilot, say if a privately owned company bought the Ridgeway, bought the apartments up there, is it any way the city or we can make these properties affordable?
Absolutely not. We actually, I've spoken about this before, but and everybody, some of the people here may not be aware of this, but a perfect example of that is we have a private organization out of Atlanta that in March purchased the City View apartments. Those apartments have traditionally been for low and very low income tenants. That particular developer has no interest in any kind of subsidy from HUD or from the city of Chattanooga. So we have tenants in that development who were paying $525 for rent one day, and then they received notice from the new owners that their rent was going to go up to anywhere from $720 to $800 a month. So that company is making improvements to the property. They are upgrading the apartments. But for most people to receive a notice that says in 30 days your rent's going to go from $525 to $720, that's a big deal, particularly in this market where it's very difficult to find a decent and affordable place to rent for $525.
And without those subsidies or without that help from the city, is it any way we can go in there and make that privately owned place, make those places affordable? It's no way.
Absolutely not, no.
All right, thank you.
Not currently in the United States of America, you can't do that, but that could change. Right now you cannot.
Good, Councilman? Done? All right, seeing no further lights, I have a motion and a second for approval of the item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. D, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the city treasurer to renew blanket purchase order number 532669 for merchant card services with FIS linked to Gov for an additional 9 months through June 30, 2019.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Move approval.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. E, please.
A resolution authorizing the Director of Human Resources to renew the blanket contract purchase order number 545788 for temporary employment services with Outsourced Staffing LLC for 12 months for an estimated annual expenditure of $700,000.
Councilman Gilbert. All right, I have a motion motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. F, please.
A resolution authorizing the appointment of Timothy Goss as a special police officer unarmed for the Department of Economic and Community Development to do special duty as prescribed herein, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Gilbert. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. And down to transportation. Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Transportation to enter into a blanket contract with Yerby Concrete Construction, Inc. for construction services associated with citywide right-of-way concrete. Contract number T1800821 for 1 year with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year periods for an amount not to exceed $1,056,089.
All right, it's the pleasure of the council. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. It's the last item on the agenda, which takes us to purchases. Mr. Simmons?
Good evening, members of council.
Good evening.
We have a few purchases for your consideration and approval. First being from the Department of Public Works for citywide services, payment of invoices for mailing of recycling information, and that is with our contract vendor, Diversified Companies LLC, in an amount of $38,059.87. The next item is a new blanket contract for custodial services, and this is Park Divisions of Public Works Department, and that is being awarded to Janet King of Chattanooga in an amount of an annual estimated value of $30,000. Next, for our fire department, a purchase of fire hoses being awarded to Grand Industrial Supply Company Incorporated for an estimated annual amount of $42,906.92. And lastly, for the fire department, new blanket contract for station uniforms being awarded to Summit Uniform Solutions in an estimated annual amount of $118,000.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one question on item 171674 under Public Works. Is Justin here? Oh, there you are.
Yes, sir.
Afternoon, Mr. Holland.
Good afternoon.
Just real quick, this is a new contract. Obviously, Miller Park's been revamped and it's open. So will you just run us down why this looks like it's being outsourced, the care of it?
Yeah, so this is for 7-day-a-week service, twice a day. So the frequency and the number of hours that we would have to commit a full-time staff or number of full-time staff to wouldn't be reasonable. This is just a additional level of service on top of what we already do. We didn't add or reduce any staff in order to make this happen.
Okay, and I do see 14 bids requested, 4 came in. This obviously met what you needed to do on this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Councilman Mitchell? All right, what's the pleasure of the council?
Move to approve.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the purchases. All those in favor say aye. Opposed is nay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Takes us to other business. Is there anybody on the council that has other business they'd like to discuss? Councilman Gilbert.
Yes, Chair. I had an opportunity last week to speak to Brainerd 12th graders, and we mentioned a lot of subjects, and one of the particular we talked about was voting and education and how important it is for both. We discussed how in the past people have gave their lives up for someone to be able to vote or to even have a good education. So I asked the kids, I told them that a lot of times people say your vote does not count, but it does. We have had many elections that 5 votes, 10 votes, 25 votes made a difference. It's important for us to vote. My pastor always said, if you want something different, do something different. So we challenged people at that class to vote because it's so important. We got an election coming up. We need to go vote. It takes 10 minutes at the most for you to vote. Take 10 minutes of your time that can actually change the lifetime of your children, of your grandchildren, by just taking that 10 minutes to make a difference in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I see no further lights. Any other business? Huh? All right, move on to committee reports. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilman Gilbert. Councilman Anderson. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Planning and Zoning Committee meeting will meet next Tuesday, immediately following the agenda session.
All right, Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public Works and Transportation will meet next Tuesday, immediately following the agenda session.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Oglesby. All good, all right. Thank you all. Oh, Councilman Gilbert.
Chair, I just want to remind everybody, we will start at 4 o'clock instead of 6 next week, next Tuesday.
Thank you for the reminder, sir. All right, that's the end of committee reports. That takes us to the point in our meeting of recognition of persons wishing to address the council on non-agenda items. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir. Council has rules of procedure that have been in effect since January of 2016. There are 7 rules that you have. Come up to the microphone if you want to talk to the council on anything within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority. Limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Don't use vulgar, obscene language or personally attack or personally denigrate others during your session. And you can't be recognized more than twice in a 30-day time period. And you're fine to go, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Christopher Dahl, and I'd like to thank City Council for allowing me to speak tonight because, like he stated, you do get sometimes put on the no-no list. And I'm here to address a tax pilot that happened a few months, maybe about a year ago. Janus Towers, does that ring a bell? You guys remember that deal? It's not only the deal between the city, but a deal between the county as well. They also, this company that was brought in, got money from our local government to do renovations. They then, with no warning, threw people out, threw their belongings out of windows. It was reported, nothing was done about it. They then sent a lot of their people to assisted living. Then, at one time, there was some furniture stolen out of their lobby, and instead of doing the due diligence and calling the police in this matter, they sent somebody around to knock on people's doors and rudely talk to the elderly people living there. Second, there's a lack of maintenance. There's maintenance issues, and when they arise, instead of dealing with it, they just move people on to other apartments. Then just recently, the manager there stated to me when I asked questions that the mayor had told the property manager to start accepting homeless people because it wasn't acceptable for the tourists to see them all around downtown. So I just wanted to bring this forth, these issues forth of this, before this council so they would be aware of what's going on, because it seems like, you know, when these type of pilot deals arise, all they are is deals to not only funnel local, but also federal dollars, not only out of state, but even out of the country. You know, and a lot of times, too, the properties aren't owned by a private entity. They're actually owned by the board that was mentioned in this pilot. I don't know if it's okay to mention them, but if it is, it's the Health, Educational, and Housing Facility Board. They, in return, make leasing agreements with these private companies, and we are never told about these leasing agreements either. So I would just like to state, too, that the public has a right to know what type of lease agreements are being made by these boards and the private companies. Thanks, and have a great rest of the day.
Councilwoman Coonrod?
Thank you, Chair. Chris, question, because I want to make sure I got the correct name. You know, you was chewing on that bubble gum. I couldn't really understand you, but did you say Janice Tower, like Janice Towers? Okay, where is that located? Janice Towers? JC Towers, okay, JC Towers, oh, okay, because I was like, wait a minute, what? Okay, you said people were throwing,
They threw the people's belongings when they were renovating the building initially. If you want to do that, when they initially, the company was brought in to do the initial renovations, they just, because I guess there was issues with some of the rooms having bed bugs and other bug issues, instead of allowing the people to get their belongings or what they wanted, they just shut them out of the building and threw belongings out of the windows. And this was even reported by some of the tenants because they felt of concern because some of the debris was being thrown out of high windows as well. You know, they didn't even have the proper like garbage can setups that you see in buildings downtown to allow that. They were just straight chucking stuff out the windows into the dumpsters.
I know Ms. Williams gave us a list of the pilots that we have. I don't, you know, I wear glasses, and every now and then I may not have them on, but I didn't notice if I saw J.C. Towers or not. Did we give them a pilot? Or were they approved?
There's a provision in state law in almost every state that allows for a PHA, which is a public housing authority, to issue pilots. So this body was not required to issue a pilot because the state of Tennessee, like many states, gives that authority to public housing authorities. And the public housing authority partnered with a private developer almost everywhere in the United States. Affordable housing is done by private developers. And the state statute requires that the ownership of that property be transferred to the Health and Ed Board, which is what Mr. Dahl was referring to. And the Health and Ed Board meets once a month if they have something on the agenda, as is required. The agenda is made public for that, and we often have people come to that meeting. So it's publicly advertised, and anybody can come.
They could come. Well, you know what? If they allowing homeless people to come stay there, I think that's information we need to get out to the public because they need somewhere to stay, right?
Well, let me say this, Councilwoman. It's very unlikely that homeless people are in that building because in order to pay for that building, people pay rent. They pay up to 30% of their income, but you have to have income. So if I'm with you, if they are accepting homeless folks, that's wonderful, but that would not be consistent with the funding mechanisms provided by HUD.
Okay, thank you for explaining.
And I would like to state, Ms. Coonrod, that the homeless people that are being brought into the property, they're having trouble receiving the proper medicine and getting to the doctor like they need to. And a lot of them are schizophrenic and things like that. And if need be, there is a tenant who's willing to get out, but she's about 80-something years old, so it's hard for her to get around, but she will be coming down to City Council to address this issue as well.
Good, Councilwoman?
How you doing, City Council? My name is Isaiah. I'm here today. I was here last week. It's something that's been bothering me since last week, and I want to ask the council, where are your hearts at? And what I mean by that is, last week we had a mother who came in about the situation with her daughter and the police officers. And as I'm listening, I'm looking at the City Council, and not seeing too much concern about it. Over and over, we coming down here and we are telling you all about the police here in Chattanooga, and there is nothing being done about it. Police are not being held accountable for anything that they are doing. You all say there's two sides to each story, but let me say this. If that was your daughter and a grown man put his hands on her, is there gonna be any size of a story, or the only thing you're gonna be looking at is a grown man just put his hands on your daughter? We gotta, I mean, city council, y'all supposed to be for the people, especially the ones in the inner city communities. There's nothing being done, and I'm from the inner city communities. There ain't nothing being done. Y'all putting more police officers in the communities. What is that doing? Nothing. It ain't doing nothing. What is the VRI program? What is that's for the police? That's supposed to be helping. Y'all say that's helping, but how's that helping any of us? All that's doing is locking my people up. It's doing nothing but locking black people up. That's not helping the youth. That's not helping the black families. So I'm asking, where are y'all hearts at? Where's the heart? When are we gonna start getting onto the police about the things that they doing? Just the other day, we just had a man getting called out his name, called the N-word, being harassed for just speaking up. Don't we got a freedom of speech? No. It's like y'all giving all the power to the police officers, but y'all usually forget they bleed just like we bleed. They human just like we human. They got a brain just like we got a brain, and they not perfect. None of us are. City council, it's time for y'all to step up, especially to those in the inner city communities, because the inner city communities are crying out for help. And like again, y'all keep turning a blind eye to it, man. And it's sad. It's sad. I'm not here to ask for your help, because honestly, I think most of everything that we say, we come up here every Tuesday, is falling on deaf ears. I truly believe that. But again, y'all supposed to be for the people. So let's start holding these police officers accountable for the things that they do. Stop saying there needs to be two sides of the story. Man, listen, they are human just like we are. They make mistakes just like we do, but they need to be held accountable, because we do. If I go and harass somebody right now, I'm going to jail. There is no investigation pending. I'm in jail. If I go rape a woman or sexually molest a woman or assault a woman, I'm going to jail. There is no investigations. There is none. Whether it's a lie or not, I'm in jail. So why is there police officers free on these streets right now being accused of the same thing? Why is nothing being done about that? I come in and I hear all this money being passed around in projects and zoning, but let's talk about the seriousness of what's really going on. It's these polices in these communities. So I'm gonna end this again to ask councilmen, councilwomen, where the heart's at?
Oh, Isaiah, that's his name, the prophet.
Oh, excuse me, just a moment.
Huh.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Isaiah, and I appreciate the question. And so, in all honesty, we're gonna talk about the issues of the inner city community. And as I watch that a friend of mine, daughter got killed last night, 19 Shanquille Stanfield, not by the hands of a police officer, but by the hands of people that look just like you and I. Nobody is coming to council to hold our own accountable when every day we're slaying our own people.
I knew.
I'm not talking to you. And every day, it's this same situation. It's the same. We talk about holding people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hold us accountable. We killing each other.
Okay,
we
can hold ourselves.
We holding. It want to say the police. We want to hold them accountable.
Listen.
But you don't want to hold yourself accountable. And you're right. You come up here time and time again, but you fail to want to even listen to anything that we have to say. And secondly, until we can hold people accountable that's killing our own, what's the point of you coming up here addressing to say what we gonna do about the police department?
I'm gonna tell you what the point is, because and that's crazy that you said it's crazy that you saying this.
Hold on. Let her finish, then you can talk.
I'm talking. Thirdly, we have all the respect. We for mutual accountability. That means for the police department, if the police is wrong, now had there been any charges filed, that's the difference. When you go to jail, someone has filed charges. They didn't make an accusation. That's the thing. This has been accusation and ongoing investigations for several things. They're gonna look into it. If the individual wanted to press charges, they will press charges, and then it'll be dealt with from that point on. Just like we're gonna hold people that look like you and I accountable, we're gonna hold the police department accountable.
But you're not.
But this is the.
But you're not. So then you go back and talk about we need to hold accountability for what we doing. Look
Right.
at the inner city communities.
Look at it.
Look at them. You
But
the city
what you
council. You the
doing
city
for it?
council. Y'all
What you doing
y'all putting.
for
Hold
it?
on.
But
Y'all
what you
putting.
doing
Y'all
for
putting.
it?
Y'all
What
are
are
putting
you
more
doing
money.
for it?
It's my turn to talk, right?
Let him finish.
Y'all are putting more money.
If you all
y'all are
want
putting more
respect,
money
you need
into
to give us
security.
respect.
Into security for these public housings, cameras, fences, gates. These children are growing up in prisons. You ain't putting nothing in the inner city communities for nothing for nobody to do. There are no opportunities for nobody in the opportunity. No, it's not.
Yes, it
no,
is.
it's not.
You
No,
just
it's not.
don't want
No, it's
the
not, Coon Rat.
opportunity
And
that's
then it's so
given to
sad to
you.
hear you
You
say
don't
that
want
because
to
you're supposed to
take
come from the
advantage of the
same
opportunity.
struggle.
And
Yeah,
I
you
do.
supposed to-
And
wait,
that's
so
why
you don't
I
act
know
like
that
it.
it's available
You
for
don't
us.
act like
And
it.
that's why
'Cause
I
you
know
came from
what's
the
out
same
there
struggle
for
that
us.
you went
And
through.
just
If you
like
went
I
to-
lift myself up from my bootstraps, the people in the inner city community got every right and can do the exact same thing. If we stop being complacent and lazy and stop depending on these systems, exactly.
You put the system in. You put the system in the community.
We're not going to have this meeting.
Hold up.
Stop. We're good.
It's,
How can you no. How can you sit here and say it in something like this? Oh, we gonna go back to the, we need to talk about the black on black crime, right? But put something in the communities for these kids to do when they get older.
Isaiah,
Put some more positive
another
mentors and
time.
role models
Is
around
that-
them so they can do better.
Isaiah, please, another time. Thank you, sir.
Deal with it later because they don't want to.
It's all right. Councilwoman, it's all right. Just,
so
it's all good.
I'm going to
Councilwoman,
talk
it's
right
all
now.
good.
I'm going to talk right now.
You're not doing nothing.
I'm
Change your
Miss-
block.
You don't
Miss
Change
Moore.
your block.
Miss Moore, just a minute,
Change
just a
your
minute.
block.
Are you
Change your
allowing
block.
him to slander
Do
her?
something different.
Saying that
Change
he's not
your
doing
block.
anything?
I'm
Are you allowing
trying
that?
to get everybody so
Okay.
you can have your opportunity to speak,
Okay.
including my own colleagues. Just give me a minute. All right.
Let the truth come on out. Tell us how you really
Miss-
feel. Is it my,
Miss Mott.
can I see the timer? Because I want to make sure I stay within my constrained time.
Hang on.
Good evening, council. Y'all know who I am because I just won't go away. I won't quit. And maybe because you thought that you could shut me up, you could stop me, you could strip me of my First Amendment right, I came with backup. Keep on. I won't stop. We won't stop. You know what? This young man wasn't here 3 weeks ago. Miss Coonrod, did you go pick him up to bring him down here? No, ma'am, you didn't. I did. I did because I am encouraging young people to get involved in the process. And I'll take my own time and my own gas and my own energy. And I don't want any pats on the back for that because I don't get paid to do anything like that, to reaching out to my community. I don't get paid to do that. I don't get paid tax dollars to do that. But let me read this. If you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep on going. If they're shouting after you, keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. If you want a taste of freedom, you better keep going. That's what Harriet Tubman, my ancestor, I am a product of chattel slavery. I'm a product of chattel slavery. That's why I will not compromise in what I expect. I will not compromise with my leaders. I will not compromise. Maybe we have gotten into this situation that we're in, being the 7th worst ran municipality because of compromise. Because we have people who are far too afraid of being black. Being black not only on the outside, but being black on the inside. And what that means that everything that I do in this system is an insurrection. I don't just love that, I relish in that fact. That everything that I stand for and everything that I say is an insurrection. And if I'm doing it for the best interest of my people, it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. It's going to piss a lot of people off. It's going to have a lot of people talk about me. It's going to have people inquiring where I work, supposedly to offer me a job when they can reach out to me directly. It'll have people trying to undercut me every turn. But I wouldn't be here if my ancestors just didn't keep going, despite the fact how can I not keep going? How can I not encourage the youth to keep going? We're not up against dogs and tanks and being washed down the street, but that don't mean that we have been removed from the struggles of America. We have people who get up on their radio show and say that young people need to buy houses, but then you allow our city to be gentrified when we were corridored here by the color of law because we couldn't go live in the suburbs because we weren't white. And then you allow what very little neighborhoods that my grandfather, my grandmother worked, bled, sweat, died for at U.S. Pipe for 52 years, where it's difficult for my family to hold on to the property that we have because it's skyrocketing so much. Can you ensure that when I go down to a bank that I can qualify for the average price of housing in the city of Chattanooga, which is $120,000, if the average black person only makes $26,000 here? You're talking about something I've never seen, something, no way that you can provide. You're living in an illusion. It's not real. It's not real. There's a Chattanooga situation, and we've been talking about it for far too long, dancing around it far too long. And when are we going to be real? We've been talking about police. And you have people like Ken Smith who say, well, I hear what you're saying. I have a daughter. Where was that 3 months ago? 3 months ago when I came down here, you have police officers who come up here and say, well, we don't know what's happening with the video footage, and it's been on YouTube for 3 months. You don't know what the hell is going on, and neither do they. And then we call this a legislative body in the government. And where is the mayor? Where is he at? A member of the city council, not anybody above. He should be sitting right there where the city attorney is sitting. The mayor should be involved in every part of the process. But he only seems to come out when he gets to take a photo op and cut a ribbon on a $2.4 million investment, when right around the corner we have poor, starving black people. Poor, starving black people who are going to eventually be pushed out of their neighborhoods because it's prime real estate. And we're lying to ourselves, maybe just too happy because we get to sit up here with white people who at the end of the day will say they love God and invoke God's name in prayer like Henderson did last week, and won't even do what the Bible says, and that is to have love. That if I have everything, even if I have knowledge, if I have everything and I have not love, I have nothing. I have nothing. You want to talk about a word of God, you don't know it. You want to talk about a constitution, you don't know it. You don't know it. You don't know it. You want to hand me a file on pilots and TIFs when I can go depend on Helen Burns Sharp, who is a citizen, to give me more knowledge on my city government. You're not doing me any favors. And you better believe that I am working. I am working. Every day I'm working. And you better believe that when the tide of change comes, you are going to be swelled up in the tide of change. You better believe it.
Thank you, Ms. Mott. Is there anybody else?
I wasn't planning on coming down here just to listen in. My name is Mahmoud Abdullah, District 7. Sister, you make a man like me fall in love with you. I'm too old for that. So, but I'm just letting you know, I feel her. I feel her. Yeah, I feel her. I came in last week. One brother, I didn't like the energy that I received. I'm in Chattanooga all my life. I look at what's going on in the city of melanated people. All this game, that's all it is. You believe in God. You play that game. You need to stop. You're going to tell people to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and said, what boots? You done took the boots. Brother, I respect you. You're a man. You're a black man. Melanated. Don't let nobody bow down to nobody. I don't care who it is. Who in the hell are they? Much pain that we have suffered. And we have to play these games. So you know the gist of my conversation. So I'm not going to sit around. I'm going to join Facebook. But when I come back, I will have it all together. And we need to meet, not just to talk. It got to be something straight and real. If death come to me, I don't mind. Because ever since I've been in business, there's something wrong. And let them tell it. The worst people in the damn world, excuse me if I said something wrong, done did everything and then want to accuse somebody of doing something. Look at your own history.
You've been to jail. Some of us.
Look at your own history.
You've been pulled over. Some of us.
See, be real with that.
Have been pulled over and harassed by the cops. Some of us.
And if it's a God that will judge us, you know what you're going to get. Quit faking. You know what you're going to get. And I wouldn't want those little tangible things if I'm not doing anything for the people. I got a store out there. If they want it, the hell with it. I don't need that. I love mine. I do. I don't want to talk about you. But when you see me, I'm nothing to play with. Never was. Even in school, Boone Heights, or wherever. Policeman, nothing to play with. I'm going to leave you in peace. You know where I'm coming from. I don't have to keep on yapping and yapping. You know where I'm coming from. I don't care if it's the mayor or whoever. So what? What am I supposed to do? I'm going to give everybody respect. I give you respect. You watch yourself too. Many people, I'm from here, I'm from there. Man, some of y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'm going to leave you like I came on. Peace. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Gary Ball.
Mr. Ball.
I'm here to represent my company, Tower Construction, and the Ridgedale Community Association. I want to take off on what Councilman Gilbert said at the start. I consider it a privilege to live in this country. I consider it a privilege to come down, be able to come down here, whether you guys listen and ladies listen or not, to be able to speak as a citizen about what I feel is injustice or being done wrong or being done right. And I thank everybody over the centuries that have played a part in that. And that's why as a young man, I played my part in it in Vietnam. And I truly believe that what little part I played in that gives anybody the right to come and speak as to what they think the government is or isn't doing for them. So I just wanted you to understand that. And I thank you, even though sometimes it may be hard, I thank you for letting the citizens come and speak. I'll try to be quick because I've burned up some of my time there, but if anybody's going to respond to me, please wait till I'm done. I'm here, I was here on in July, and gave a letter that I also sent to the county mayor, July the 27th, on the city attorney's decision that he rendered on a state law. And 2 months have passed, and as I knew when I came, I never heard another word. And I'll go to the county commission Thursday and tell them the same thing. So unless I hear something else tonight when I get done, I only have one other option, that is to send it to the state attorney general's office, because it is state law, and see if they want to tell anybody other than who's making the decision already what the law allows. The funny thing about this is we're also involved in a surplus property sale that Ms. Williams' office has, offering surplus property, quote, for affordable housing. But I learned something really concerning to me Saturday at your meeting out there at the Eastgate, that the gentleman that is running that part of her office is an attorney. So is he operating as an attorney and wearing his attorney hat when he's making decisions about how to help people get affordable housing in this city? Or is he working as a community interested man? He seems to be the one that's driving the same issue with liens and property taxes for the surplus property. And he's told all of us that we're trying to buy it, that property will come with the city liens. So my son and I have already decided we're going to tell the city that unless the city wants to say, well, you don't have to use it for affordable housing, we're not going to cram that down your throat. If you're going to pay those liens and taxes, you can use it for whatever you want. Otherwise, we're just going to say, well, we don't want any of it. If you're going to tell us you're going to surcharge us for giving it to us at a very low price and tell you you can't do anything else but that with it. Thirdly, I mentioned Councilman Coonrod this afternoon. C&E, I was here a few months ago. They're a developer. They're operating like a developer. None of y'all seem to be concerned. Now I find out today that I'm doing 6 houses in Ridgedale. They're doing 6 houses in Ridgedale. CDOT passed a whole new street cut ordinance. Now we are required to dance to a certain tune. I found out today that CDOT representatives have told C&E, well, you don't have to do that. You can do something else, and then maybe the city might come back later and pave the street. Lastly, I'm working with a Hispanic rep person in 1723 East 27th Street that got in the situation where they built this glorious tree house for their child after going to the city and asking if they needed a permit. They said they didn't. They made some mistakes. But I'm now waiting to get a decision from the city on why C&E and their one of their contractors can do a detached 2-story structure and tie it together with a breezeway, but they want this gentleman to tear down about $5,000 to $6,000 worth of stuff that I think I can help him fix to city standards if somebody in the city will have what this gentleman was talking about, the same compassion for this Hispanic man as they do for a developer and C&E from Hickson. So,
thank you, Mr. Ball.
Thank you. Councilman Byrd.
Hey, Ms. Donna Williams, could you come explain or give me some clarity to some of the stuff Mr. Ball is saying?
Actually, I don't know where to start. First of all, I want to say to Mr. Ball, as I have many times before, if he has any questions related to my department, you're more than welcome to come to my office. It's not televised, but you're welcome to come. Number one, Jonathan Butler is an unlicensed attorney. He went to law school. We can't take that back. He went to law school. He does not practice law. He also does not handle affordable housing. He used to. He doesn't, hasn't for a while. The state constitution does not allow for the forgiveness of back taxes, period. When we sell it, we go through the process of surplusing it. If it's sold, then whoever buys it has to pay their taxes. There are some circumstances under which we would consider removing a lien. Most of those liens are for people not mowing the grass or boarding up their property, but we cannot forgive taxes. We have offered property up for sale many times. Mr. Ball has done a great job, he and his company, with some of those properties. we make it clear when we offer it what the conditions are under which you would accept or purchase that property. If you do not want to take, if you don't want to be eligible for federal money, you don't have to be eligible for federal money. You can buy the property through the back tax sale or other ways, and you can do whatever you want to with it. So I just want to make sure that oftentimes I know in this environment people say things and words have power. So I want us to be as clear as we can about how we do what we do. And I will offer, again, the opportunity for Mr. Ball and anybody else who is doing business with this city, and it relates to my department, to reach out to us. We have many people who are happy to do that. And then finally, as it relates to, I think you're referring to a property in Highland Park where we put a stop work order on it. The Land Development Office did, the one I think you're referring to, because they were trying to build an unauthorized accessory dwelling unit. That happened months ago. I ordered that the LDO staff put a stop work order on it, and the developer did that. As far as someone building a structure in a tree without a permit, I can't speak to that. But I'm happy to talk to you about anything you want to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman, good? Thank you.
Did he have any input on his
We'll
decision?
talk out. Mr. Ball, I'm going to come talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Thank
all
you.
right. And let me just clarify, there's the city back tax and there's the county property sale, which my letter was very explicit after talking to the county, that they consider it not a back tax sale.
I got you.
Okay, all right.
Is there anybody else who would like to address council this evening?
Ron Ray, Lookout Valley. In fairness, I need to say that I had prepared these remarks a couple or 3 weeks ago, but we weren't able to get to that point. I titled this, I said, give credit where credit is due, and I want to applaud you. The audio is definitely working now. I could hear. I wish to take this time to express my gratitude to our Chattanooga City Council members who, in my humble opinion, had conducted themselves in a professional manner befitting the public position in which they serve. I have had the wonderful pleasure these past couple of years to serve in my self-appointed capacity as a citizen watchdog over our local government and our elected leaders. I wish that I could say I was completely satisfied with every decision that has come from this body, but alas, that would be naive to believe utopia can be had this side of that place called heaven that I made a personal choice to make my eternal home many years ago. As a sidebar, if there is anyone in attendance who did not know that there is life after death and heaven and hell are the choices that you're going to spend eternity, I would cherish the opportunity to speak with you afterwards. In my self-appointed role as one of many citizen watchdogs in the city called Chattanooga, not Nooga, but Chattanooga, that I am honored to call home, I have observed a city council that it has, in my opinion, placed itself above reproach, and for that I am grateful and proud. In keeping with this pat on the back I'm giving, I would respectfully ask you to begin to create oversight for what can best be described as rogue enterprises, as a gentleman spoke of a few months back when he referenced the Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprises Group. Hopefully, this would be an open and transparent way to protect the integrity of the City Council and scale back any undue criticism it has received. The private sector needs to be held accountable in this oversight as well. I would like to applaud the efforts and professionalism of each of you for what sometimes may seem like a thankless position as a public servant. Anyone who has served in leadership capacity, whether in public or private life, know that you cannot please everyone. I can personally attest to the integrity of several members whom I've had the pleasure to talk with at various neighborhood association meetings and at city council meetings. I can assure you that their first concerns were to ensure an atmosphere of accountability that would suggest transparency in conversations. My own council member, Chip Henderson, has served the last several years in an honorable way that has never once caused me or District 1 citizens that I know to doubt his sincere motives, always reaching out to both sides of an issue. I'm sure that Chip has not always walked away from every conversation with a smile on his face, as we voters have made ourselves clear that we are his employer. Nonetheless, his honor is without question. Recently, I had the distinct pleasure to interact with Darren Lefford on some matters in his district. I was very impressed with his personal and professional ethics in the way he handled matters, even though I was not able to see every result I wanted. His insistence and work ethic to ensure fairness, that both sides had a voice, therefore the law was the ultimate authority and final arbiter. This man was a tireless worker to seek out mutual satisfaction between the parties. Darren, you are above reproach. I am extremely proud of council members Anthony Byrd and Demetrius Coonrod, as they have handled themselves in a very respectful way, watching out for the citizenry that they serve. All of you are to be recognized as honorable servants of your constituents. Please remain humble and listen to our citizens as we present our concerns. Hopefully they are valid and not just murmuring and complaints. Lastly, perhaps there are better ways to govern. With prayer to our Heavenly Father, I am absolutely confident that we can reach that pinnacle. God bless. The essence of what I'm saying here is both sides do need to work together better, but our side needs to offer solutions to help you in this process. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council this evening?
My name is David Toulis. Thank you for letting me speak to you. In a shop on Highway 58 is a man standing in front of his business. He's a shoe seller, and he has some things against him. Number one, he's dragging on a cigarette. Number two, he's wearing a very white wife-beater t-shirt. And number three, he is a very dark-skinned African-American who does not belong there somehow. This is what the report of the police officer who came to investigate his presence in front of his store was at the end of a harassing and, for him, a terrifying encounter with our city's blue fine ones. If it was just an inquiry, why did she have to call for backup? In the end, there were three police cars, one arriving with a siren going, and the officers standing around wondering how they could offer assistance, but probably not wanting to get in her business, which is how officers do. They stand around when the main party shuffles back and forth and declares what the law is, and that you have to put your hands on the glass and spread your feet so she can pat you down in a Terry pat down, which was totally uncalled for. The man's name is Noah McLemore III, and he is in an undercapitalized business in a rundown building, retail building across from the pizza joint on 58, and is having a very hard time making a go of it. And he wept when he gave me an interview on this encounter. He broke down and has been very difficult to deal with, as I'm trying to encourage him to make an appearance here before you to tell his story in his very remarkable accent and manner of speech. He is, I would say, a victim of routine. It's unremarkable that this happened. No one knows about it, perhaps unless you watch his video on Facebook, which is the remedy for not knowing what's happening. Go on Facebook, subscribe to Nuganomics.com. That's my platform. My name is David Toulis. I'm the blogger with the biggest pen. I think that Chattanooga is the center of the universe, and that means I'm a Nuga centrist. The center is here in Chattanooga. What happens in Nashville matters little. What happens in Washington with Kavanaugh and whatnot, even less. What we have to do here is make this a livable and good and prosperous place. And my argument today is I went to the Chamber of Commerce to find out what its position is on this matter is this. To have this kind of harassing encounter is decapitalizing. It snuffs out the entrepreneurial risk-taking spirit that a man like this, who has been in prison, has in his breast. That's the last thing he needs, is to have an encounter where he just lives in fear. He is constantly in fear. As people in the minority communities and neighborhoods often are, it's built into them to be afraid. And this encounter, which is, you can see it on my website, newgonomics.com, repeated there for your review. It's only 8 minutes long, and Noah McLemore does what everyone in this room should do, is take your camera and record these interactions with the executive branch, Mayor Andy Burke's people. They are Mayor Andy Burke's people. They respond to him. They obey him. And Chief David Roddy, the reform chief, as we had thought in August last year, might bring some changes. They seem to be far apart. The officer should have done what Carol Burrs is good at, which is negotiation and conversation. It's called treating, asking questions, not coming up with backup on the way, but just parking and saying, hey, how's business going? How are your shoes doing? How's marketing going? I've got a teenage son, and what kind of shoes are these here? What about these over here? And that way, without having to make demands or exercise authority, the officer, by merely negotiating the need to get the facts, can find out what she needs to have. That is what has to happen. But she came up on this man standing there, a black man with a cigarette and a wife-beater t-shirt, came up to him with her gun drawn, okay? The Terry pat down, also totally uncalled for. And then she demanded his social security number. She said, come over here to my car. He said, ma'am, my business license is on the wall in the store. She didn't want to hear any of it until finally, when she had him at her car and got his information, she went into his store, and I would say she should have had a warrant at that point, and got his business license info and satisfied her curiosity. That's not very smart. Where is the training in treaty making? Where is the training in conversation? It's called de-escalation. You don't escalate, and if you have to de-escalate, you do. My name is David Toulis. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Kevin Scarborough. I'm a resident of District 6, Concord 3. This is my first city council meeting, by the way. Thank you. I read with some interest an article last week about a presentation that CPD had given this council about violent crimes over the past 3 years, broken down by zip codes. And like Councilman Leffert, I was kind of surprised to learn that living in 37421, I happen to live in the second most violent zip code in Chattanooga. It's, as a resident of the suburbs, I too am I'm concerned about crime statistics, and I would hope that the members of this council would work with CPD to effectively and also responsibly address some of the issues that we see out there. What kind of got me to come here today was last night on Hickory Valley Road in the 1900 block. We had shots fired about midnight last night. It's not a sound that I'm used to hearing in my neighborhood, and it's something that I hope we don't really hear a lot more. But hopefully we can all work together to address some of these things that are going on. So, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. West? Oh, yes, I didn't see your light, ma'am, if it was on. Sorry. Councilwoman Burrs?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. It's 1900 block of Hickory Valley. Hickory Valley Road. I'm between Lee Highway and East Brainerd Road. Yes, ma'am. There was a call placed to 911 at 11:49 p.m. last night. Yes, ma'am. I called CPD this morning. Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot they could tell me, but they were able to confirm that a unit did respond to it. They made contact with an individual, but other than that, there wasn't really anything that they could tell me over the phone about it.
Is it finally on? Sorry. Are you turning my mic on?
No, I wouldn't, no, if I had that kind of control, I'd just leave it off.
You just be powerful, right? You'd own the world. All right, I'm sorry. Could you hear me before?
Yes, ma'am,
All
I
right.
could.
So we do a lot in the district for citizens and the police to work together. And one of the things we do is the second Thursday of every month at the Family Justice Center, we meet with the police at 6:30 and talk about these things. Violence, unfortunately, out in our area it has to do a lot with domestic violence. There's different kinds of violence all over. I'm just pleased that you're interested in being part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And I invite you again, second Thursday of every month, second Thursday of October. It won't be this month because we're having National Night Out. Starting in November, the second Thursday and every other month, we meet with the police and we talk about the issues. And we talk about crime and all those things. So please come to the meetings, and the police, how can somebody get on the list to find out about it, Zach? Yeah. If you could give him your information.
I can get you on the list. The CPIC meetings typically are the heads of all of the neighborhood community groups in a particular area.
And lots of residents too.
Sure.
Lots of residents. For my neighborhood, it's just citizens that hear about it. So if you will give him your information, we'll make sure that you're on the list, because I don't want anybody left out.
I've given him my email address.
Great.
Shoot that to me,
Thanks,
and I'll give
Zach.
it to Sergeant Jefferson, who kind of coordinates that.
Great.
So we'll get it taken care of.
Okay? So thank you for saying something.
Okay, thank you very
And
much.
we're doing plenty, and be part of the solution. Will you join us?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You good? All right, is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? All right, we are adjourned.